Session 12. Debrief the testing results.
Your story crafters just went out to see how people understood their Bible stories. So now you get to help them process the feedback they gathered. In this session, you'll discover tangible steps to help the story crafters benefit from what they experienced.
Ideally, at this point, every person should have tested their Bible story with people outside the workshop. If only half your group has done this, put a pause on your workshop activities until every story crafter has an opportunity to test their story.
As the facilitator, you play a vital role to help your story crafters think through what they heard during story testing. Start by meeting with each of your small groups. Discuss how it went and what they heard.
Keep in mind that most story crafters have little or no experience in critical analysis, or the kind of troubleshooting required for constructive debriefing. In the beginning, you will probably need to take the lead to help them debrief, but over time, they'll get the hang of it, and you can step back more.
When you begin the debriefing, kickstart your discussion by asking how easily people were able to retell the story. When someone retold it, did they leave out parts of the Bible story? If so, it might mean they simply forgot to tell it, or it might mean the story wasn't clear enough.
Your story crafters might hear feedback like, "I remember, but the story is too hard to tell." Or they might hear, "The story needs clearer vocabulary," or "Please use our common language." Comments like these are quite common, and as you might imagine, they are clear signs that a Bible story needs to be revised.
Occasionally, people will say they don't want to retell the story because of their worldview. If that's the case, the story crafting team should think through how culturally appropriate the Bible story is. Can it be crafted in a way to not be offensive to the intended audience? Perhaps additional stories should be crafted to help address these worldview issues.
Another question to spur discussion is to ask if anyone changed words or phrases when they retold the story. If they did use a different word or phrase, was it just a stronger way for them to say the same thing?
Ask your story crafters to think through specific words or phrases that only Christians use. Do non-Christians use those words? If they don't, then your story crafters should think of words and phrases that do communicate. This is such an important time of wrestling to make the story better understood.
Another point to make sure to touch on during the debriefing process is this. Were any details added to the Bible story? If so, encourage your story crafters to find out why. Perhaps their audience thought the story needed to be explained. If that's the case, the Bible story needs to be clearer.
It's at this juncture in the workshop when your teams will share valuable insights with each other. As they discuss what was the most important element of the story and what was confusing in the story, they'll begin to decide the revisions they want to make to the stories. Ask every team to present their observations to the large group and talk about the revisions they plan to make.
This debriefing time is another one of those iron sharpening iron occasions during the StoryTogether process. You'll see how one team says something that helps another team and vice versa. This harnessing of the group's collective experiences helps your teams craft Bible stories that people will really understand.